Holy crap, I've been live for how long? I've been live for an hour and a half. I was wondering, hey, no one from YouTube chat has come around. It's been pretty quiet. All right, we're live on YouTube. Yo, what is up, guys? We are live and we're starting blah, 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 blah. Let's get back to it.
Any grenades in its area of effect. You can throw poisoned and explosive grenades on top of each other and then pop a quick explosive shot before the enemies leave the area and detonate everything. It's a useful tool to give you a bit more immediacy when needed, like against faster enemies that are charging you, and to kind of just reduce reliance on things like less duration support for grenade fuses.
Mercenary can be viable with melee weapons. Any class can be viable with any weapon. You just have to have the right build for it.
You can support it with any gems you want to make it faster to fire or reload, increase its area of effect, or give it more damage as a bit of a finisher skill if you want. But even unsupported, it's useful for popping grenades when needed. A handy little tool in our tool belt. So with explosive shot and a wide array of grenades at this point by the end of Act 2, I didn't really need any of the regular crossbow skills anymore, and I became a fully fledged Grenadier. I did still kind of use permafrost bolt on occasion. I just kind of love it. Once again, this isn't a build guide, but I'll show you what my build was looking like towards this end of Act 2 period. In the end, I ended up linking explosive grenade to added fire damage and area of effect. Combined with the poison grenades, they were a spammable damage dealer in between flashbangs. Explosive shot was linked to execute as a pseudo culling strike against nearly dead enemies, and also to pierce, which I found quite helpful as it helped it explode where I wanted it to and not on enemies earlier, so that I could detonate grenades easier. Flash grenade was my MVP skill for sure, so we got the prized trophy of the multiple projectiles support. I was still using overpower for it at the end, which is fine, but in hindsight, there's probably more effective options. Given that it's only 50% more stun build-up on a skill that already has 400% more, I mean, that's still a 12.5% increase in stun, but I imagine something just like area, cooldown, or damage related might be better in the end. I guess I could still see overpower making it into a setup with more support slots.
Wait, is he right about that?
5% increase in stun, but I imagine something just like area, cooldown, or damage related at the end, which is fine, but in hindsight,
hits with supported skills cause 50% more stun buildup. He says this is 15% increase in stun buildup because the skill already has 400% more. But shouldn't that be multiplicative? Am I crazy?
There's probably more effective options, given that it's only 50% more stun build-up on a skill that already has 400% more.
If it has 400% more, it should go to 600% more in total. Don't mores multiply each other?
I mean, that's still a 12.5% increase in stun.
That should not be a 12.5%. That should be a 50%. Period. Or I might not understand. Let me go to the gem. Let me actually find the gem. Where's flash grenade? Maybe I'm wrong. Gems. Skill gem. Flash grenade. So, okay, this is level 5, but so it has more stun buildup. Yeah, it should just multiply. It should be a 1.5 multiplier. I think he's mistaking. That's surprising because he knows a lot about the game. I feel like I must be missing something because he's played POE way more than I have.
But I imagine something just like area, cooldown, or damage related might be better in the end. I guess I could still see overpower making it into a setup with more support slots. I still had rapid shot with faster attacks and ruthless, but I mostly stopped using it because I always had grenades to throw. Gas grenades were linked to bursting plague and inspiration, as they're actually pretty mana hungry. And finally, Herald of Ice was linked to added cold and frozen vortex. Although vortex could only proc if I froze an enemy with another skill that then got shattered by Herald of Ice, so it wasn't super effective, just kind of like a free slot that I was testing. Later, I'd probably try and work in the accuracy support once I've got some more spirit, especially since I'm blinding myself half the time. For the passive tree, I tinkered back and forth a few times, and I definitely changed things a lot more as once I had more chance to explore. I traveled through
He's wrong. Yeah, I figure he is.
Remorseless for a nice extra stun build-up and damage. Grenades do count as projectiles, and I think they scale with projectile damage, but I'd need to double-check that in-game, which we'll have to wait until the beta. So take that with a grain of salt.
Jesus, did you see his HP drop there? Look at his HP bar, dude.
Double-check that in-game, which we'll have to wait until the beta. So take that with a grain of salt. I'd actually consider going through attribute nodes at the beginning of the tree.
See, we're not going to have this problem on our build if things go well. So if I'm in this kind of scenario where I have many ranged mobs attacking me, I drop my totems here, and then I just click active block. And anything coming from this direction, I'm safe 100% against, right?
Until the beta. So take that
all
with
of those
a grain of
projectiles
salt.
never hit us.
I'd actually consider going through attribute nodes at the beginning of the tree too. I always kind of wanted more dexterity and strength for gems in gear. And the health from strength is legit too. But I definitely still get volatile crystals because area and cooldown is just immense on grenades. You want as much of that as you can get. The ricochet node is not a long-term node for grenadiers. I probably should have dropped it by this point, but I needed to highlight it because I do recommend taking it on any crossbow merc, at least initially. The shotgun projectiles that you miss with will like hit a wall and bounce back to the enemies. It's very satisfying, it looks super cool, and it's super worth it. Honestly, if the numbers were any higher on this notable, it would be an Ascendancy node. I traveled through some knockback, which was okay, on the way to some serious grenade nodes. This grenade cluster gives a bunch of nice small nodes and 2 amazing notables, so it's probably a must take.
Here's grenade duration. Grenade skills for an additional projectile. The only problem is the duration. That's really bad.
Cluster bombs gives you an extra grenade, straight up like a baby multiple projectiles. The downside is increased duration, which makes the fuses longer. It's a downside for sure, but explosive shot can detonate them anyway, and you can scale it down in other ways. It's pretty tolerable, honestly. Well worth the trade-off, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The other node, Grenadier, is a no-brainer, and it's good enough to name a build after. An extra cooldown is pretty nice on things like explosive or gas grenades, but it's insanely good on single charge one like the flashbangs. Throwing 2 sets of 4 flashbangs when you've got multiple projectiles and that extra grenade projectile is often enough to just outright stun a boss or delete whatever monsters happen to have you surrounded. Preparation is the name of the game for Mercenary Grenadiers, and this lets you be twice as prepared with twice as many explosions. The Adrenaline Rush node down here is some nice in-combat move speed, a big fan of that. And Volatile Grenades lowers the fuse time, and it's right on top of a jewel slot, which is...
I think movement speed is going to be actually really, really good in the skill tree, mainly because there is no movement flasks, and there's much less movement abilities. So, like, whoever plays POE1 knows for a fact that movement's one of the most OP defensives in the game. Because minions, most minions don't guess where you're going to be. They shoot at where you are. So if you're running in a straight line, everything that is ranged is missing you as you run along. So yeah, anything that's movement speed, I think is actually really, really strong and should be considered.
Which is very nice to get. On the left-hand side, I was headed towards Perfect Opportunity. This node looks very good. A lot of stun and lucky damage against heavy stun enemies, which if you don't know how that works, it rolls your damage twice and picks the higher number, so it averages you up. I think this is definitely something that we'd want to get if the flash grenades continue to overperform as they have been. There's a ton more stuff to explore.
More stun threshold per strength, okay.
Explore here, obviously.
Again, I really need to learn what this damn thing means. So, stun threshold is basically, and if anybody knows more than me, please tell me. Stun threshold is basically how likely something is to stun you, correct? But I really want to know whether this affects active blocking and how fast you build up staggered. Thank you, CM Radar, for 4 months, man. Thank you so much for the support. /show/ at you right back, brother. Thank you. Because if you can actively block longer with a higher stun threshold, which would make sense because active blocking, you get stunned at the end of it. You think it does affect block? If it affects active block, yeah, when the stun meter fills up. So if it makes your stun meter fill up slower, then we are going to heavily invest into it. There's a very good chance that we go for like a strength stacking build at some point. Just get a lot of strength multiplier, and make us be able to like even like actively block bosses if possible. So yeah, we'll see.
Overperform as they have been.
That's a really good one, by the way. That's a really strong node if you're stacking strength.
More stuff to explore here, obviously, that I didn't have time to look at. Though I did spy the Authority node, which has some big AoE and cooldowns, so I'd likely end up heading there. At some points, we'll have to consider defenses more, but not worrying about life nodes on the passive tree was really nice and refreshing. Definitely enjoyed that. And I mean, explosions are a nice layer of defense anyway, right? For the Ascendancy choice, honestly, Gemling Legionnaire and Witch Hunter both seemed very valid as a Grenadier. Gemling just gives a ton of value across a lot of skill gems, which is kind of perfect for a cooldown grenade combo build. So if you want to use as many different grenades as possible, it's definitely worth considering. But the Witch Hunter is so freaking cool.
Yes.
The moment I saw it added another explosion to the build, I knew I was sold, right?
Bro, did you see that proliferation of explosion? Look at that.
Added another explosion to the build, I knew I was sold, right? Zealous Inquisition gives 10% chance to explode an enemy, dealing their full life as damage in a very large area. It's those big white X circles that you may have seen in my gameplay. It's very satisfying and effective. Whenever that triggers on an enemy, right, there's a good chance that it has similar friends around it, which means that 100% of its life is often enough to kill the other ones around it. If I had to say what I'd get later on from this Ascendancy, I'd definitely have to test Sorcery Ward, which it lets you turn evasion and armor into a shield to protect against elemental damage. Probably a pretty big deal.
That'd be so good for this boss, probably. You look at the damage it does. That's legit.
Probably a pretty big deal. You can likely push it to some pretty high numbers too, from what I've seen. It's good to feel near immune to elemental damage, but we'll have to test that out at endgame. Witchbane might be my favorite node, behind explosions, of course. We have some really nice crowd control.
The problem also is, like, you take so much more damage from physical hits, and you just die to physical hits if you're playing Sorcery Ward. You'd have to find a way to mitigate physical hits. Like, you can convert phys damage to elemental damage. So we saw the Flame Cloak, whatever it's called, that Marauders usually go for, Chieftains go for it in POE1. It converts 40% of phys damage to fire. That can be really good. So if you're playing Sorcery Ward, I think you are going to be going conversion. And you just convert as much as possible. At that point, I think it actually might be ridiculously strong. Like, I think it might be an amazing defensive ascendancy if you can convert enough. But then the downside is you're lacking other, you're missing an entire chess piece. You're missing a lot of, like, nodes that I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how much we can convert and how easy it is to convert damage.
Between freeze, stun, and later electrocute on Grenadiers, and adding concentration breaks to that mix sounds amazing in boss fights. The node behind it lets you scale damage pretty nicely too. Concentration just effectively lets your damage lower enemy cooldowns, which can be amazing in boss fights.
Sure.
Nearly all of the scary boss moves are generally cooldown based. Culling Strike and Decimating Strike are nodes that let you kill things faster. Pretty hard to go wrong with that one. They're just flavored in a pretty fun way. And that last node, Choice Weapon Master, is 20 weapon passives, which lets you split your passive tree more between two different trees for weapon swapping. It's an unusual one, but grenades do seem like a potentially good candidate for weapon swapping. You might have one crossbow for crowd control effects to amplify those dramatically, and then another crossbow oriented around damage, for example. Yeah. Or maybe even like a spellcaster weapon to have some support spells. I don't know, it's really hard to say how good this will be until we know all of the skills at our disposal and see how that all feels. But overall, I'm definitely a fan of the Witch Hunter for the Grenadier. After all, it's got explosions, and just about every node seems to be worth taking. In terms of gearing, I tried to get myself added cold damage wherever I could.
So, can fire one additional bolt before reloading, cool. 1.12 to crit hit chance. All right, just added cold damage, basically. It's a pretty newbie bow.
Even just a little bit with the permafrost rounds was very effective in the early game, and I definitely found myself prioritizing socketing added cold damage into my weapons. Though do keep
adds cold damage and adds cold.
Keep an eye on crossbow type implicits.
All right.
In particular,
wait, he has two of the same one. Does that mean you can just buy them somewhere? What is not extra skill points? Is potential to best. It is extra skill points. Sorry, points in the tree. It is. That are only active while the weapon is equipped. It's more weapon swap points from the points you already have. There is no way that's how it works. There is no way you have to dip into your current tree and split it in half. There's 0% chance that's what it is. Oh, 1% chance. Because then you're at all times losing skill points on the tree. It would just be a really horrible mechanic. I am 95% sure that any like weapon swap skill points are additional points you have.
Some of them give some nice bonuses to allow you to shoot more shots before reloading and things like that, and later on some nice grenade things. Move speed boots are huge on the Mercenary, so you definitely want to get yourself some of those. And I did find myself always in need of more...
Now, I don't know if it's 20 on both trees or 10 and 10. I'm not sure.
Or dexterity and strength for gear and skill gem requirements. I don't know if this is just kind of like the nature of these hybrid classes potentially, but if you find a really nice like pure evasion piece, it can be hard to wear it unless you've got a lot of extra dexterity. So getting some of those can be quite nice. And I found that with the inspiration support on gas grenades and...
Black Suncrest helmet. Increased armor, light radius, strength, dex, and wow. It's a lot of percentage. I missed the other armor pieces though.
That and later on some...
Add fizz, some
nice grenade things. Move speed boots are huge.
Damage attacks, max span int, whatever.
Huge on the Mercenary, so you definitely want to get yourself some of those. And I did find myself always in need of more dexterity and strength for gear and skill gem requirements. I don't know if this is just kind of like the nature of these hybrid classes potentially, but probably. If you find a really nice like pure evasion piece, it can be hard to wear it unless you've got a lot of extra dexterity. So getting some of those can be quite nice. And I found that with the inspiration support on gas grenades and maybe just like a little bit of mana stuff on gear, just kind of picked up incidentally on jewelry, I didn't really have any mana problems on this build. I barely had to use my mana flask, and I always had charges if I did need to.
Yeah, very, very much like POE1.
So it definitely seemed very manageable, but it might have also just been down to kind of incidentally getting a fair bit of extra mana on my gear, for example. The only unique I ended up finding was Black Sun Crest, which is an attribute scaling armor helmet. Gives a lot of armor, and a fair bit of attribute scaling potentially is nice, especially for boost.
I wonder if this works on active block. Do you guys know? Like when you actively block, will this work? If so, that's also pretty nuts. I have a suspicion it's not going to work, but we never know. Because it could be procced twice, which means you could theoretically 3 times active block in a row.
Boosting that life, competed pretty well against the rare helmets that I'd found at the time, but I wasn't doing anything like super unique with attribute scaling at this point. The things in general to prioritize most are move speed on boots, damage on your crossbow, and gloves and rings if you can get it, and making sure that you have enough attributes, and of course resistances in life as always. Now my gameplay strategy on this build at the end here was to open with a flashbang, and then follow with gas grenades and explosive grenades right after, and then some explosive shots just to detonate things.
You know, I gotta fix this. This is tilting me. It's been like this for like 5 years. Give me a sec. Where is my... One sec, chat. Just holy crap. I've been out of frame forever. All right, there we go.
Followed by another flashbang if needed. This keeps the enemies in place, lays down a large area of death and blows everything up, and then kind of like keeps them there a bit longer.
Prevents recovery. Okay, yeah.
If needed to finish the job. But I will say, moment to moment, it felt pretty fluid. Once you kind of get familiar with your loadout and the different tools you have and in which situations they work well, you naturally find yourself using things kind of tactically. Like, for example, preloading gas grenades on an essence monster before releasing them. Now, I didn't really have a chance to incorporate it into my build too much, but right before I logged out, I had like a spare minute to just do a sneaky little look at one more skill. Just for a second, I had to. Voltaic Grenade does a lightning blast that builds electrocute on enemies, and electrocute is basically another hilarious form of stun. Being able to add this to our kit alongside flash grenades and potentially things like freeze is very exciting for this idea of like a crowd control Grenadier. You could also use it to build up shock to amplify enemy damage taken, and you can use things like the Innovate support to add lightning damage to the rest of your grenades. There's a lot of potential here for sure. I can see it working its way into the kit. Anyway folks, I hope you enjoyed this early look at the Mercenary and Grenadier playstyle, and maybe have figured out if it's a playstyle that you want to try, or I don't know, maybe it smoothed out your early game for you a bit. I'm very tempted to kick off beta with this build and see if there's like a lot of potential here for it to be a real banger beginner build like I suspect. Maybe something that I could make a guide for. It'd be really good, for example, to put up a beginner guide to a build that's just really fun for blowing up monsters for some of the new exiles joining us. But then again, maybe I should be playing one of the classes that's like polling is getting less attention, like the sorceress. What if not enough people are covering them? I don't know, I'm definitely struggling with this deliberation. Let me know what you think. But that's it for now. I'm Ziggy D, and thanks for watching.
Good video. Good stuff. Yeah. Let me do the obligatory share video URL. But yeah, good stuff. So, you know what I find most interesting here? Okay, of course he didn't like capture his deaths and stuff, but on a character where he had very few defensive layers, or any at all he had was like offensive defenses, like he could stun. He didn't seem that squishy. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So, I think it's fair to say that he probably didn't overlevel much, right? He didn't go insane on overleveling. It doesn't seem that bad. He didn't have a shield on. He didn't pick up defensive nodes. He just went pure offense. It didn't seem that bad at all. So if he was like playing similar level to the map, if we overlevel by like 7 levels and maintain that overlevel, I feel like hardcore is not that impossible. Am I coping here? You guys think I'm going to die anyway? It's like grenade carry defenses, I guess. Also flash grenade, I guess giving blind is really good. I mean, that was the stun grenade, flash grenade. Comprehensive list of all major changes. Most degenerate name you have given a character. Huh. I don't know. You will die within the first 3 bosses, dude. Problem is late game, you die for sure. Really? You guys think so? Just wait and see. That's the point, black hole. You spend 1/5 of your total skill points on 3 notables. Yeah, this ain't happening. But you could have like, is there any place to socket a jewel to pick these up for free? Yeah, this black hole is probably not happening. I think the black hole thing is you're supposed to only pick 1. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's still very expensive. We appreciate the GG is installing early access to the early access. True. Will endgame be as fast-paced as similar to POE1? I'm pretty sure it's not. There's no way it is. Not as fast. Because movement speed is not as fast. There's no movement speed flasks, and the skills themselves don't move as fast either. This is what I was asking you guys. Not the chance to reduce the amount of damage you take before you're stunned. Should be a % of your life. So if you increase the threshold, it should increase the % of that. The defensive option allow you to block more hits with your shield before getting stunned. Are we sure this is the case? Man, if it is, I'm actually considering going for double your stun threshold. Also, that keynote, is double a more or not? Is it more? So does double mean plus 100% or does it mean literally double everything? Because I actually might pick up this keystone and just not dodge anything. It's double. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, this is... No one's going to pick that keystone other than us. We're the only ones going for it. It's going to be great. I think it should be more, yeah. Usually accompanied by other useful stats. Yep. They delete stun immunity nodes, and what you scale stun thresholds based on your max life. With enough life and stun threshold, you can practically be immune to stunning in small hits. Yeah. So, all right, new ideas coming up. Let me where is it? POE2 database. All right. Character info. We're going for keystones. So what keystones do we want? I'm not sure anymore if I'm taking this, chat. I know you guys think it's a cool idea to go Ancestral Bond and have a lot of spirits, but spirits are very expensive. 100 spirit per totem is extremely expensive. I don't think we're going Ancestral Bond. I think they over-nerfed this. At 50 reserved spirit each, I think we could have gone for it. Now that they nerfed it to 100 each, yeah, totems reserve 100 spirit, yeah. I think we're not going Ancestral Bond. I think we're going to be going for... Where's my boy? We're going for increased limit, so +1 to totem here. And I'm pretty sure that there will be at least one node in the skill tree that gives +1 to totem as well. So we can go 3 totems that way, right? We have no idea how much spirit you can get. I vaguely remember somebody telling me that they talked about like end game characters being able to go like 600 plus. What site is this? POE2 database. I'll give you the link right now if you want it, friend. Here you go. There it is. All right, let me get this back. So yeah, if we could have 3 totems, that might be good enough. 50% less skill effect duration. That really sucks, though. This really, really sucks. But we can get more duration on top of this and like negate it. But still, 8 seconds is really low for totems. Skill gems. So, wait, Dark Effigy? Why does it have totem support? Raise a totem that bombards enemies. Afflicted by chaos damage over time debuffs. What? All right, I have another question, chat. What does this damn warrior witch mean? Does that mean they get this inside of like a quest chain before you can buy it? Like, what does that mean? Or is that the recommendation? It might be recommended for warriors, recommended for witches. 180 from campaign alone, 30 each act found. So 180 from the campaign, plus 180, and then we have the scepter giving you a really big drop of spirit as well. So let's look for... So if I'm not going scepter, right? Because scepter would be this guy. The problem with this is I have to use a mace. If I want to use Ancestral Warrior Totem, I have to use maces. There's no way around it. I'm going to make an instacking witch with Blasphemy Aura, Chaos Righteous Fire for the win. I like it. I like it. There's a witch build I'm also heavily considering. I'm thinking Righteous Fire minions. That looks so fun, bro. It looks so fun. Righteous Fire minions. I want it. It looks so disgusting, but we don't have Righteous Fire. We do, brother. We do. It looks so good. Infernal Legion. Minions from supported skills take 20% of their max life as fire damage per second, and they deal 5% of their max life as fire damage per second to nearby enemies. Listen, that in my mind is Righteous Fire. I don't care what you say, chat. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what name you want to give it. That's Righteous Fire in a nutshell on minions. That looks spicy. And the reason it's so spicy is because of Meat Shield. 50% more maximum life, brother. Holy. Not only that, you might think that's not enough. You think that's not enough? Well, let me introduce you to my good friend right over here. Where are you at? Did they add more? Holy crap, dude, there's so much more here. Where is it? All bonuses from equipped amulet apply to your minions instead of you. That is so good. Because don't forget, Path of Exile 2 has very, very, very strong flat life in the form of strength, in the form of flat life rolls as well. So we give all of our minions massive flat life. We give them massive HP with HP scaling, plus whatever HP can be found in the tree. And then we give them RF, okay? We give them Righteous Fire or Infernal, whatever you want to call it. Then we also can even go further and further. Damn, what happened here? We can go further beyond. Hello? And give them Minion Instability, where they explode for 15% of their max life as fire damage. So we have minions running at the enemies, burning them to death, and when they die, they even burn them for more. Explode them with Arsonist too. I mean, it's going to be great. We can give them more HP with +1 to level of minion skills, which should be decent as well. That's +1 HP easily. We can keep them alive longer if we want to. We can make them revive faster if we want to. We can recover mana from minions that die. There's just so much. We can keep them alive longer. Like, it depends how you want to approach it. We're probably not doing both. Either we're going for they die faster, or we're going for we keep them alive longer. So one playstyle would be they just keep burning, but they don't die. The other playstyle is they burn and die quickly. And you just play very safe with your Necromancer. You just stay in the background. So this is a really fun build. I would like to play. Though I have never played Minion builds in Path of Exile 1. So there is that. I don't know. I would just use SRS to do early campaign. That's fair. Although SRS is different now, isn't it? So, yeah, Righteous Fire Minions is sick. Wait, there's a lot more of these. These are not these are notables as well, right? Yeah, these are not keystones, they're notables. Is there anything for totem? All right, Ancestral Bond totem. Yeah, there's nothing else. I don't think it'll be as complex. No, it's not. It's very complex in POE1, yeah. Yeah. All right, you guys said Kriparian put a video out. Is that true? Did we check out Kriparian's video here? Let me find him. The rare wand build, the bazaar. It's not it. Videos. Arcane Rush. Rare wand. Pig that burns. I'm not seeing it. But everything here is the bazaar. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's a 5-day-old video. No, somebody told me to watch this vid, but it's 5 days old. Yeah. All right, let's go to the Reddit. Real quick, let me go to the front page, see if they added anything. So, Kakao Games interview Jonathan. Wait, is the PC download out? If it's out, then we're going to have some serious data mining happening. That's awesome. Kakao Games interview Jonathan.
Access updates.
Oh, this is the one we saw. You guys want to see the really short? Let's watch the really shortened version of it. So somebody made one around here somewhere. Let's find it. This one. All right, chat. We have the shortened version, and we have timestamps for everything. Beautiful. Oh, this is so good. All right, we are going to see exactly what he says. I don't want to paraphrase anyone else. We might find some secret gems in this interview. So this is all timestamped. All the Korean has been knocked out, and literally it's 30 minutes because there's 10 minutes of this guy's thoughts. So, are you ready for more POE2 information? You can't. Started playing POE1 to prep for POE2, and I'm excited. I don't know how you vets can contain yourselves. I'm excited too, brother. Though I'm not a vet, I'm a newbie. I have 1,900 hours. It's nothing. All right, chat. I'm going to go do a speed run bathroom break. If you guys want to know how long, I predict 47 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. You have 9,700 hours of POE1. Like a week of gameplay. All right, let's see here. Interview time.
You still need to go through all the acts every season.
Yes, you do. As I've always maintained, that I think it's a huge part of the reason why Path of Exile 1 still set its highest record of players in the most recent season. There's very few games that do that, and I think a lot of the reason is because if you want to have a game where you need to, I think it is important that you have a game where each new season you feel like you're on the level playing field with everyone else, and the moment that you don't have the need to go through the campaign again, then other players will feel left behind.
My dude is so smart. What an absolute giga chad. He is so smart. That's exactly it. One of the things I really disliked about Diablo 4 is you could just skip the campaign immediately and just start grinding minute one. That, I hated it.
Existence is a thing of beauty.
Good morning, good evening, or good night, folks. I'm your host, Simon Redhand, and welcome back to Gaming. I'm not going to be talking over it too much, and at the end, I'm going to be talking about what I plan on doing with the channel when Path of Exile 2 comes out, and yeah, we'll go from there. Here we go. Enjoy the interview. I'm not going to be jumping in or pausing it, anything like that, but I will share my thoughts at the end, okay?
You know, like, the first thing, when I started doing YouTube, the first thing I did with my first editor, we agreed no intros. Until we had a really good idea on how to do our intros, until we really knew what a good intro was, we said no intros. Just dive into it second one. Because, yeah, it's better to have no intro than an intro that people feel like, how do I skip this? Because they might literally just skip the video instead.
So what you've shown us already today is very memorable and it's very impressive. So we met in Gamescom. And
campaign is stupid though, everybody just speedruns it. Yeah, okay, so that's not really why I love the campaign. You broke that rule, yeah, but your intro was really good, Tams. So here's the thing with campaign. Maybe you guys disagree, and I don't care if you do. I have more fun in campaign than I do in endgame. On every single league start. I prefer the campaign. I enjoy it. Now, that might be because I'm a hardcore player. Maybe it's because I play hardcore. Maybe softcore campaign is like, you can just throw your face at it, die 30 times, doesn't matter. You finally get through it, and then you start. But playing campaign as hardcore is satisfying, and it has been satisfying for over thousands of hours. I've never not enjoyed the campaign. Usually when I hit maps, it's like, now I gotta grind. I'm done with the campaign. Yeah, 1 to 60, you feel the progression for sure. So, campaign for me is BIS.
So are you wearing the t-shirt very well, the tablet t-shirt that I gave you?
I have worn it a couple of times. You know, my wardrobe is almost entirely Path of Exile merchandise at this point. I don't think I have any t-shirts at all that don't have a logo on them.
So the trend now in the action RPGs is we've seemingly transitioned from what we, maybe call Diablo likes into PoE likes, and to the point where other genres like roguelikes are also taking ideas from Path of Exile. And so with that in mind, how do you feel about that trend? And also, is it maybe just a little overwhelming that before PoE2 is even out, that there's this much attention?
I mean, it's certainly, look, I think that taking inspiration from other games is something that everyone should do. Like, you should always be looking at all of the different games, even in different genres, and seeing what kind of mechanics could be interesting to use. So, I mean, look, when we're designing new leagues for Path of Exile, we're always looking at, like what's a mechanic from some totally different genre we could potentially use in Q4. So I have absolutely no problem with people looking at the mechanics that we're doing and taking them from us as well. This is just how creativity in the game industry works, is we all share our ideas. Obviously, with the launch coming up, it's pretty crazy. There's been way more attention than we even expected. I think that
I'm so happy for them.
we're certainly going to set new records, I think, for how many players are playing the game.
We're going to play TFT today? I don't know, because I don't know how long we're going to be covering PoE2. I'm not sure. Unless the mechanic is throw a ball at a creature, then you're Nintendo will. True. True. You can't throw balls at creatures. Bro, I was thinking of playing catch with my dog, and I realized if I upload it to YouTube, I might be in trouble legally, so it was a no-go for a video idea.
And I just hope that our servers can keep up.
So when you look at PoE2 right now, how close is it to your perfect image or optimistic image of, ideal image of PoE2, if you could give it like a number, like a percentage?
It's pretty close now, I would say. Like, definitely, like...
You're leaving on vacation December the 8th, booked the flight days before the announcement that the early access was postponed, FML. Brother, just travel with a laptop. You can go to your vacation hotspot and just play PoE the entire time. You're fine.
If you don't count just the fact that we don't have all the content in terms of the gameplay and feel, I think we're definitely 90% there. The main thing, we just have to get all that content ready, because it's such a huge important part of an action RPG that you need enough content to keep people playing again and again. And the other thing as well is that the next best action RPG, in my opinion, is Path of Exile 1, and we need to make sure that we can compete with it in terms of content as well.
So one thing that some people have noticed is that it seems like mostly it is overlap in terms of like mechanisms or content from PoE1 to PoE2. So in the future, is the plan to always have this kind of overlapping where you're carrying things over from PoE1, or is it going?
It's not going to happen. Do you guys remember when back in the day, the idea was they're going to keep updating Dota 1 and Dota 2 in the same way? And Dota 1 All-Stars in the Warcraft engine was still going to get development, and they were going to try to do like a one-to-one. Look at Dota 1 versus Dota 2 right now. It's going to deviate. There's no way it doesn't. There's going to be technical limitations of things you can do in PoE2 you can't do in PoE1. There's going to be design decisions that only work in PoE1 versus PoE2. And the longer time goes, the more they're going to fork away from each other. There's even a chance they just stop developing PoE1 entirely. Not entirely, but like give very little, depending on how financially successful PoE2 is. So we'll see. They might just give it a very small team to keep working on it and just focus on PoE2 entirely.
Going to continue into completely separate development trees?
We won't necessarily do that, but I think there will be some amount of sharing. It's actually quite nice for us to be able to, tell a story in two parts with PoE1 and PoE2. So a great example of that was the last league we released called Settlers of Kalgur, where we have, in Act 4 in PoE2, we had this city called King's March. And then we decided that in PoE1, we wanted to create a league that told the story of how that city came to be. So that's just something that's just a great opportunity when we've got these two games running at the same time. And I think that we'll probably continue doing some interesting things like that. But in terms of the overall gameplay and the way that it feels, the systems are quite different in PoE2 to what they are in PoE1. So we can't simply...
If you play your 3-day vacation PoE, with your wife, you're dead. I don't have that problem, thankfully.
You just take something from POE1 or POE2 and move them between the games because they require significant changes to be able to, to work inside the gameplay system that each game has.
Dude, just a side note. Is it bad that I'm 36 and I haven't had like a stable relationship almost ever, and I am nowhere close to having a wife or anything? Am I destined to die alone, chat? Is it over for me? Like, if by 36 years old I haven't found anything even close to relationship material, does that mean I'm forever alone? You have me. All right, we need robot girlfriends. It is what it is, chat. I need androids. The sooner they come out, the better.
So this is from the content creators that are attending today. So he's not sure if this was answered before, since you had so many interviews globally, but obviously Mirror of Kalandra was a very iconic item and maybe even currency in POE1. And he's wondering, first of all, does that item exist in POE2?
Absolutely.
And if not, oh, yes?
Yes.
Okay. 네, 일단은 존재한다고 하네요. But are there other items that you think are kind of at that similar level where the moment you see it, you're like, this is it. Like, I won.
Well, hopefully we can design some good unique items that are like that. And ideally, from the pinnacle content, we really want all of the uniques that come from that content to feel like you absolutely must have them. In order to make it actually worth doing that content. So I'm hoping our designers are able to come up with some really awesome uniques. And I think what we're doing with uniques as well in POE2, they can be a lot more interesting, especially with things that can add skills to your character and things like that. So,
oh God, I hope so. That's one of the coolest things about POE2 is that when an item gives you a skill, you can fully socket that skill. I think that's so badass, right? And every one of them can be like 6-socketed. As in, like, you can have 5 support gems on it. That will make uniques so unique, pardon the pun.
So there's quite a lot more unique can do in POE2 than in POE1.
Gotcha. 제가 그 패스 오브 엑자일을 10년 넘게 했는데 아직 칼란드라의 거울을 한 번도 못 먹어봤거든요, 땅에서. 패스 오브 엑자일 2에서는 먹을 수 있을까요?
So 10 years and he still hasn't seen the mirror drop. So do you think he'll have a chance in POE2?
Well, I've never found a legitimate mirror before either.
조나단님도 직접 찾으신 적은 없군요.
But I did have one drop one time when I was using cheats. But I didn't cheat to get it, but I just was killing the monsters with a cheat and I got one. That's the only one I've ever seen actually drop
그
before.
아이템을 받으려고 한 건 아니고 이제 테스트하면서 치트키로 좀 다른 걸 테스트하고 있었는데 그때는 딱 한 번 보셨다고 합니다. 제 생각엔 이 정도면 네, 뭐 거기까지만. So this question is about kind of the timing. So what is maybe the timeline for early access updates within early access? And then also kind of what's your outlook for the final release, the full release?
So I think that it will take, for the second part, I think that it will definitely take us at least 6 months.
You can't hear me over the video?
But maybe a little bit more to be able to get out of early access. I certainly don't want it to take more than a year. I do want it to be next year that we finish. But as far as the content update goes, it's a little bit hard to say how long. Our original plan was to kind of do them every couple of months. But the studio has been it's been a lot of work to get to the point of this release, and so we need a little break, I think, around Christmas before we can work hard again. So I'm not exactly sure when the first one will be, but the intention is effectively to have them every few months. It should feel a little bit like the League updates in POE1, where they come relatively frequently.
Yeah, I look forward to that. But I mean, I just want to play the base version now.
Our intention effectively is to add more classes and also more content, the rest of the acts and so on, basically, as we go through. One thing I will say is that we want to make sure that by the time we go into full release, that everyone has had an opportunity to playtest all the classes, including all the Ascendancy classes and all of these things, because it's very important that we're able to get testing on all of these things before we actually can be able to do a release.
Gotcha.
That means once they have all the content out, as in all the classes, all the Ascendancies, we're still going to get a couple of months more of early access so they can be tested, per se.
So this is something that he's come across along with some other fans that he's noticed are very hardcore fans of Path of Exile. And one thing they've noticed is that the crafting system in 2 seems to be a lot more simplified and maybe not as many options as Path of Exile 1.
That's a good and a bad thing. So I think for the hardcore giga crafters out there who have infinite knowledge of crafting and all that is crafting, It's a nerf to them, obviously, because they can no longer make ridiculous money making these impossible items. But in general, I think that's overall a good thing, because crafting is still going to be quite complex. So I don't mind crafting being complex. The thing is, if you're playing POE1 for the first time, it's not that crafting's complex, it's that there's so many systems involved in crafting that in order to be able to craft, you need to know all the systems. You need to know how bestiary works. You need to know how, I mean, you know what I mean. It's just so much stuff. So you can't just learn crafting. You got to learn all the League mechanics that have ever existed in PoE. And that's a really big ask, right? So starting off with less of these systems is a good thing.
So do you have plans to kind of expand that similarly to PoE1?
So our intention is to expand it over time, but we wanted to make sure that the kind of base level crafting system is easier to use in PoE2. One of the things that I think makes it easier to use actually is the fact that you get more currency and you can use it more often. So that means that you're going to be experimenting a lot more with currency just through the game. We have different options than what were available in PoE1, so I think people probably will take a little bit of time to get used to all of these things. But Path of Exile 1 ultimately is a game that's had more than 10 years of expansions, and it's got a lot of kind of, you might call it bloat over that time, where there's lots of crafting systems that kind of overlap or they do different...
Dude, omens are going to be huge in PoE2. Have you seen those omens they have? And the kind of crazy crafting you can do with them? Like, I'm doing ritual 100%.
They do different things, but kind of like, they're trying to achieve the similar results. And we wanted to kind of unify some of that stuff in PoE2 in order to make it so that there was, just a little bit less of those things that you would need to know about. But obviously, as we add more and more content, and all of these need to have new player power and so on, there will definitely be more options over time. And we're also leaving some design space as well for us to be able to add things in the future too. It's also...
Am I the only one who's going to be a little bit sad that six linking is no longer a thing? Like where you can get lucky one fusing 6-link? Even though I always dreaded having to 6-link my chest or my one-hander, my two-hander. Even though I've always dreaded it, there is something that feels so good about getting your first 6-link. It's such a good feeling. Like, what is the equivalent of that in PoE2? Is there an equivalent? I feel like I'm going to miss that.
Also worth mentioning that we still have more sequels to Path of Exile 1 leagues that we want to add to Path of Exile 2. And when we do those, there will often also be sequels to some of the crafting systems that they had as well.
So in Path of Exile 1, one of the troubles they had was that new currency kept getting added and added, and it seemed overwhelming. So can we expect maybe slower additions in PoE2?
It's a little bit hard to say. I mean, ultimately, anytime we add something, it comes down to does it seem cool to us? And if it does, then we add it. So, look, we're trying to make sure that it's a little bit more simplified on a base level. But look, as you add content, you need to add new features, and people want these things. So, I'm sure 10 years from now, there will be it will feel very complicated again.
And which it should be. 10 years from now, it should be just as complicated as PoE1 is. Why? Because then we'll have PoE3, right? You hit 10 years of PoE2, well, we've already hit the motherload of bloat and power creep. Let's make a new game. And I'm good with that. First time I 6-linked in SSF was an insane feeling. You still need full sockets. Yeah. Your first 6-link was Chevron wraps. Damn, dude. It's nice. Yeah, 6-linking. Oh, by the way, one thing to consider as well is coming into the future, game dev is going to be faster and faster and faster with AI. So it might not even be preposterous to say that PoE3 could be made really quickly once the tech is out. So I think we're going to get more and more games faster and faster.
Okay. So he took some time to kind of gather some different opinions on what would be best to ask you when you had the opportunity today. And one thing that came up continuously was about controller support. Given that it's WASD, some people, they don't like it as much on keyboard, so they would like to use a joystick. So first of all, how much, if at all, is the controller support better in PoE2 compared to PoE1? And also, how close would you say it is to perfection right now?
So it's way, way better than Path of Exile 1 was. We've got a team now who actually, that's what they spend their time doing. The main thing is that, like in terms of not being perfect, is that every skill requires a lot of specific work in order to be able to actually like feel good, especially at endgame. And you also can't necessarily tell whether a skill feels perfect until you've actually played through and kind of actually use it at endgame as well. So I think that there probably will be some skills that...
Thank you for the follow there, Kenny. I appreciate it. Also, if a game is from the ground up designed to be played with WASD, by default, it should feel way better with controller. POE1 was not designed around WASD, right? It wasn't. It was designed around click to move. So obviously trying to make controller support for a game that was never designed to be used by controllers in the first place is going to be very clunky. And it's going to take time to get it right. So it makes sense that POE2 feels way better.
That could be better. And what am I talking about with this is kind of like, you need to do very...
You're not convinced that long sessions of gaming is going to feel comfortable? I mean, I played super long sessions of gaming in first-person shooters where you're non-stop. MMORPGs non-stop. Like, these 3 fingers, you have no idea how strong they are. I've grown accustomed.
Specific targeting work, because obviously with a controller you can't select an exact location, so you need to be able to kind of predict exactly where the player would want to use a skill at a given time, and the answer to that is very different depending on how the skill works. So effectively, yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, teleport skills and stuff suck with controller, I agree, but I'm thinking more along the lines of movement, joystick plus mouse. I think mouse is king, everybody knows that, especially for aiming stuff. I think mouse is where it's at. But for movement, I would actually say that joystick is probably superior to WASD in Path of Exile 2. Now, I'm going to play with keyboard, it doesn't matter.
That work to do, and there's probably still more we can do, but I think that we've done a pretty good job in getting it there. And certainly the base interface for controller is just so much better than it was in Path of Exile 1.
So he remembers he had a chance to try the controller support at Gamescom, and he remembers there were cases like that with targeting where he wanted to hit the boss, but it's hitting mobs. So has it even been improved since then? Do you know?
I mean, there's certainly been a lot of work just on specific skills, but it really is case by case. And the other thing as well, the worst times are when people disagree about what the best way to target is.
The one thing I will say, I hate it when controller support limits what you can do in terms of skill design. I hate it when they hold back PC players because they want control players to feel good. Like, for example, maybe you want to design a skill that can't teleport, like you say, to a specific spot. Well, if controller can't do it, they simply don't give you the skill. They just never release the skill. And that feels really, really, really bad as a PC player. So that I despise.
That's also another tricky question. So the answer to whether it improved depends on what skills you were using. Some of them definitely, I mean, there's been a lot of work on a lot of different ones, but I can't say about the exact skill you were using there.
So I think we discussed this briefly before, but kind of reminiscing about the idea of a more in-depth or a more specific guide, right? Like blinking lights or something like that on the passive trees or the Atlas tree. And his thought was maybe even just like level 35, something in the middle where you know how to get a jump start. Do you have plans for a guide like that in-game?
No. Don't do it. Horrible idea.
So we are doing things where we have specific guidance on individual skills, like we've got videos for each one that explain how they work. We're also doing things like recommending support gems and so on. But I guess we stopped shy of wanting to specifically recommend a given build to people, just because we kind of feel like it's really up to the players to decide what they think is good. And if we start specifying specific builds, I worry that they will become either out of date or people will say, oh, this build sucks, like why is GGG recommending something that's clearly terrible compared to this other build. So we sort of hesitate a little bit to get involved in the ring of...
That's not why you don't do it, though. Like, it doesn't matter if the build sucks or it's outdated. You can always update it. You can even hire somebody who's a professional build, like a guide maker who knows how to play the game. I think that's not a good reason not to do it. The reason you don't want to do it is because, I talked about this yesterday, it's like, take Deadlock, for example, from Valve. The moment you log into Deadlock, the first thing when you start choosing your skills, you have recommended guides on the side. And for any new player, they lose all incentive to experiment. If you give people a guide the moment they go to make their character, they are never going to play the game normally. Because like, wait, why would I want to experiment when people already know what the good stuff is, you know? And they're just going to go for the guide. You want exploration. You want people to like, you know, build their own characters. You want them to have fun discovering, oh my God, this is really cool. That's half the fun in PoE. So yeah, I think having guides ruins that. And I said this yesterday as well. There's a very big difference to somebody logging into a character, opening a browser, going to Reddit, going to YouTube, looking for a guide, learning the guide, and then doing it on the game versus having it all in game one click away, right? So yeah, guides in game I think are a really bad idea.
Like what build is best, and we kind of want to leave that to the players more.
So
yeah, we're
real.
very happy to recommend, like, you know, explain how things work more, get better at showing what the effect of your choices are, but we just don't really want to sort of say, okay, here's what you should be doing. Actually, even already we had, just with the recommended support gems, we've had people say to us, oh, your idea for this one is terrible, you should replace it with that other one. There's already some arguments.
So this is a bit of a lighter question, but he remembers when Path of Exile officially released in Korea with Korean service, that there was a Korean traditional hat as a cosmetic item. So are there any plans for other maybe traditional Korean garb as cosmetics in POE2?
I'm sure that we'll get to doing something like this, but one thing to mention is that those items that you had from before will still work in POE2, so if you would like to use them. I don't know if that particular one will work at the beginning of early access, but by full release, every microtransaction we ever had will work, so you'll still be able to use those. But you know, I'm sure we'll be making more things like this in the future.
So then, what about what's your plans for like the demon form or like the druid when it transforms into different animals? Would those have cosmetics as well?
Good question.
So we might be able to, we can make cosmetics for the different forms, but obviously the cosmetics that your character normally wears won't work on them.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't make your bear wear armor that way. Anyway.
Gotcha. But it would be a separate thing that you're.
Yeah, but we can do separate things, and we are planning on doing some of those too.
So then, would you imagine that it's like changing what the bear itself looks like? If it's
Yeah, we can absolutely do that, and we definitely will be doing stuff like that.
So he remembers hearing in a different interview that you've done that you also are taking inspiration from other action games and things like that, and a lot of these games, even if
MTX is microtransaction, it's skins basically.
they're run in a season format, they tend to have mid-season updates that will keep track of the game. Now, you've mentioned in the past that the benefit of a season system is that you can play the season and then swap to a different game with a different season and go back and forth. But what happens when, you know, maybe the season update you had, whether it's something like in POE1, like the Calandra League or the Necropolis League, where it just wasn't received as well? Would you have, or would you be open to this idea of mid-season updates to kind of amend what has already happened in that season?
Generally speaking, we don't like to do that, and that's because, so back in the early days of Path of Exile 1, we actually tried doing more frequent updates and these sorts of things, but we kind of found that they didn't really ultimately cause people to come back. So what we were much better off doing is just coming up with a larger update and trying a different approach and doing something completely new at that point. Occasionally we do modify things in the middle of a season, but generally speaking, we try to really avoid that if it's going to negatively affect people's characters once the game is released. So effectively, yeah, like it really is much better, we found, to go all in on like having a larger update every 3 months than it is to kind of do smaller changes in the middle. That being said, I'm sure that when we first launch POE2, there will be many things that we get wrong that we will have to update very quickly. So I'm sure the first couple of weeks there'll be many small updates just to tweak numbers. No doubt there'll be boss fights that are too hard or skills that that are too weak and things like this.
Or skills that are too powerful that I'm going to use and beat hardcore my first try with 0 deaths. Listen, they're not ready for cast while channeling active block with high block stun threshold. It's over. They're not ready for this, chat. I'm going to have cast while channeling, and I just hold the block button, and while I'm channeling my block, everything's dying in the background. I'm 100% safe from any hit damage. And if there's AoE damage, instead of channeling block, I channel Jade form. Same thing, cast while channeling Jade form. Everything's dying around me. In the same time, I have totems doing damage. It's going to be insane. They're not ready for my build. They're going to say, who is this grappler guy and how did he break our game? They're going to nerf it to oblivion. But not before I beat campaign and I hit maps.
So yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of changes like that at the start.
Yeah,
Have I commented on the Diablo devs Twitter shade? Which one?
So listening to you, he's inspired now and very proud of POE2 just with the energy that you have.
Okay, that's good to hear.
First of all, there were a lot of questions from the exiles that joined us today, so he tried to pick some unique ones. But the first one is, in POE1, one of the troubles they had was that you couldn't try on the cosmetics before you purchased it. So is that included in POE2, and if not, are there any plans?
So actually, we do have a completely new store in Path of Exile 2, and that store does let you.
If I can't block all of them because they're around me, I have Jade Form, which does literally the same thing as block. It blocks all damage, and it's also a cast on channeling, so I have both.
See the items on your character before you buy them, and it also allows you to see like a close-up of your character and this kind of thing as well. So yeah, we've actually done quite a bit of work in that area. So I think players will probably have a much better time with that.
So next is they want to play with their friends, that's their plan, but they haven't found as much information when it comes to co-op or party play. So how does that work? How would you get involved in party play?
Yeah, so you can play right from the beginning of the game with up to 6 players. The game is sort of intended to be balanced so that you can play single player or multiplayer, and you should have a very similar time in terms of the overall difficulty. In multiplayer, during the campaign, though, you can resurrect your friends. So that means that you don't have to leave them behind if they die.
I like that. I think it's cool, but as long as it's only campaign and not endgame.
So yeah, that can be quite a fun experience. When you get to the end game, you can't resurrect them anymore, so you actually have to make sure you're able to all survive a map in order to get through it. But yeah, we try to make sure that the game is balanced for both experiences without having regard from one, without making sure that one or the other is advantaged.
Maps and bosses only having one try, and otherwise even the pinnacle bosses you'd have to kind of build up again to revisit them. And this might be a bit too daunting for newer players or kind of middle-level players, where if I die, I have to kind of go through the entire process again to try to challenge this boss again in the end game. So are there any plans to try to mitigate that in the future?
I'm absolutely fine with that. Listen, I didn't kill my first pinnacle boss I didn't kill my first Uber until like 1,000+ hours into POE2, POE1. Literally. My first Uber ever kill was over 1,000 hours in POE1. Probably like 1,400, 1,500 hours in. That's only because I eventually built a character where... So, do you know when I killed my first Uber boss? I killed it in the league where they first introduced... what is the system called? They have it in King's March as well, where you take 2 items, they combine into 1. You guys remember that? What is that called? Where you just combine items. Transmogrification... I forget. Recombinators, yeah. When they first released Recombinators, I was super early onto it. And I figured out, because I was playing Righteous Fire, I figured out a way to make almost full BIS Scepter for Righteous Fire. And it cost me approximately 3 to 4 divines to make on average. And I was selling them for 20 divines each. And I was the first to be doing it, that league. And, well, when you can just make things for 4 divine and sell for 20 plus each, and I did that for a while, I literally had like a 400, 500 divine character really fast, and the character was literally unkillable. He couldn't die, and I just did it an Uber for fun. But only because of that did I have a chance to kill an Uber. Other than that, I never really chased Ubers. So if you're telling me, well, I'm a casual player, I play 1 hour a week, and I'm afraid if I finally get to Uber, I can't kill him, and then I gotta... Then Ubers are not for you, brother. There's a lot of things you can do in PoE 1 or 2 that is fun content. Just because something is too hard for you to do, well, guess what? It's not for you. Things are balanced around 1 portal in PoE 2, similarly to how they're balanced around 6 portals in PoE 1. If something is too hard to do in one run, it's probably designed to be too hard for you, and it's just not for you. And if you don't like that, do different content. There's a lot of content you can do. You don't need to kill Ubers. And by the way, what percentage of people actually kill Ubers? In hardcore especially, but even in softcore.
So I think if you're talking about the actual pinnacle boss...
Yeah, screw Uber Maven, bro. I still can't do memory game. Not for me.
The intention really is that is the content that only the very good players are able to achieve. That's kind of the what pinnacle...
When I try to do like Uber Maven, like memory game or whatever, it goes like this. Okay, left, right, up, down, right, and I already forgot the left-right part. Like, I can keep 3 in memory. So I got the first one, got the second one, got the third one, got the fourth one, but lost the first, got the fifth one, lost the second. It's like, wait, what? And it's like, now I don't remember where I started. And my brain just gives up. And then I'm like, well, Alt F4, log on macro, we're done with this. We're going to do other content. I don't know. I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to like Maven game. I cannot remember it.
Cool ultimately means. So if you're talking about the early end game, losing a map is not really a big deal. Like, you get plenty of them. It's absolutely fine. It only really starts to matter as you get towards that pinnacle content where it requires quite a lot to be able to challenge that stuff. So effectively, we kind of want it that way, and I believe that it will mean that achieving victory against the pinnacle bosses will be a much more valuable achievement than it was in Path of Exile 1.
Awesome. And by the way, this doesn't affect me at all because I play hardcore, so you only get 1 life anyway in hardcore.
So this is a question about the combat.
Somebody who has more time in Ruthless than Standard, I just laugh at the idea of whining about not being able to complete Ubers. I played quite a decent amount of Ruthless as well. I like Ruthless. It's a fun experience.
But for instance, something like a pure melee build or something like that, or maybe some elements being a little bit too strong, where physical damage was really only used to destruct things, right, and to fragment things when they're frozen or something like that. So what?
I played Ruthless when Steel Mage went for his Ruthless run. I pretty much stayed in like 1-to-1 with his level basically. I stopped playing at like level 82 or 83 though. It kind of got boring for me at a certain point because at that point, it just came down to like grinding the same stuff over and over to get the bases to hope to recombobulate into the right item. And that was not fun for me because I was playing SSF as well. I think a lot of people started when Steel Mage started playing the Ruthless run. But I played Ruthless before. For me, Ruthless is fun through the campaign. And then after campaign, you kind of get to a meta where things are a little bit annoying. Also, Ruthless got a lot easier with Kingsmarch because you could actually use ships to get you support gems. And that changed a lot of things. It became way easier.
It has been designed in POE2 to kind of balance out melee and different elements and all those types of builds.
I guess it's a little bit hard to answer that fully, but ultimately, it's not necessarily important that every element is balanced against each other. The key thing is that...
Thank you for the follow there, Levia-chan. I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream.
We're giving you lots of different tools to solve different problems. So in Path of Exile 2, because you can have many more skills that are 6 links, it means that it's okay to have skills that are just only occasionally useful. And so we can do things like, I like to have skills that are just situational, right? Like you feel like, oh, this is the perfect time to use this, so that's when I use it. And so effectively, I think it's a mistake if you're a player to be like, okay, I'm a fire sorceress, I'm only going to go fire, right? Like this is the kind of thing that, you can do that, but I think you're going to have a worse time than if you try to combo things between different elements. So I guess what I'm saying is that the elements aren't necessarily balanced in the way that you're kind of suggesting. It's like, it's more that...
So when he talks about having skills that are perfect for this situation and not others, this was impossible in POE1. And the reason is, in POE1, you have very hard restrictions on your sockets and your links. You can't have more than 1 6 link, maybe 2, right? You just can't because of how it's designed. So you have to go all in on one skill. If you're playing a one-handed weapon, you can only have 1 6 link skill. Obviously, if you have like some crazy uniques, it can be different, but my point remains. In POE2, you can have multiple 6 links. You can have 5 6 link active spells if you want to. So you can actually build a character that has multiple skills for multiple different scenarios, whereas that was impossible originally. There's a reason everybody went one-trick pony in POE1, like with 1 skill clear all, 1 skill boss. It's because of socket pressure. And if you try to be like a jack of all trades, everything sucks. How's everybody doing? I'm fantastic.
That each skill needs to have a place and a time to use it correctly.
Just one aspect of that question I want to...
Can you explain why 1 support gem is controversial? I keep hearing that. I don't know a lot about POE. So basically, there are certain support gems that are very strong. Like, for example, greater, like multiple projectiles, right? It gives you more projectiles for the skill. Well, that's a support gem you would probably just use in every single skill if you're playing projectiles. In the same sense, something like if you're playing a mage that's scaling fire damage, something like, I don't know, fire conversion might be important if you're not using a fire spell specifically, or added fire damage might be something you want to use in every skill. So in order to make support gems, it's like, yeah, just put this gem in every single skill. They want to force you to be a little bit more creative in where you use certain things. So they don't want you to have a build where you have 5 skills and all 5 skills have the exact same support gems, because those are the best support gems for your playstyle. Instead, they really want you to think, well, which of my skills do I want to give more projectiles to? Ideally, all of them, but yeah, that's my main skill. I'm going to give that one the projectiles. Now that that has that, what am I going to do with my other skills? You know, that skill, I might make it more for single target, etc., etc., etc. Ability to use specific weapons for a skill and use a specific weapon passive as well. That does feel like it's more frequent in POE2. Like you have a very specific weapon for it, but I don't know. We've mostly seen that in like slam skills, but that's always been the case. Slams have always required. Well, then again, you were able to do slams with like axes for some skills and whatnot in POE1. That might be a little bit more controversial.
To follow up on is, so what about specifically when it comes to melee, like how useful are melee skills outside of just being supplemental to others?
Oh, I mean, I definitely think melee skills are very useful. They're incredibly strong, generally speaking, relative to ranged. Like that, you definitely get the payoff for being in melee range. A lot of bosses are actually much easier to fight in melee than they are in ranged, because the skills the bosses choose to use are different, and also because the any kind of attack that involves hitting an arc, it's much easier to avoid. So, for example, with the boss I was just fighting, which I did admittedly die to, it's actually much easier if you stay very close to the boss, because his abilities, you know, when he's targeting you, you can dodge around the boss very easily when you're very close, but when you're far away, it's actually much harder to dodge those abilities. So melee is actually quite an advantage in that regard too.
So Path of Exile is known for its economy in some ways, and it's very...
I also like finishing characters, but I know myself, if I play softcore, not only do I not have as much fun because it's easy, but I spend too much time playing Path of Exile. For me personally, one of the reasons I like hardcore is because I can play it, and if I ever feel like, well, I'm just spending too many hours in hardcore, like I need to get out more, I gotta go back to the gym more, I gotta, you know, this is a waste of time at this point. What I'll do is purposely do harder content that will make me rip eventually. I'm not gonna rip my character on purpose, but I'll say, well, I'm just going to do content my character's not ready for. You know, high risk, high reward. And it can be very exciting, but it'll eventually die. So I can choose when to quit the league, basically, by throwing myself at hard content. And once you lose a character you have like 40, 50 hours in, you usually don't reroll. I just wait for the next league.
Detailed, and it's very complex, and you've done quite a good job in kind of creating this capitalism economy amongst themselves in the barter system. So is there anyone on the team that majored in econ, or maybe you have a team that's dedicated to how to manage the economy?
I know you can consume armor break with certain spells to do more damage. I don't know if it does any passive debuff on the mob, like giving it less physical resist. I'm not sure.
We don't have a dedicated team or anything like that, but I think that, look, we've always been huge believers in the sort of free market economy in these games. I think it's what really gives items the value that they have. So, you know, it's just something that, like, we have a policy of we never bind any items, and that's so that everyone can feel like, yeah, like, once again, your items have value.
I love that.
Then that I think did help is having a good understanding of stock markets when we're implementing the currency exchange system. You know, that one, if you actually get right down to it, is like a full stock market type situation. So having some I did have a bit of understanding about that when we went to implement it, and I think that was very useful.
So in POE1, it was, you know, the lore and the story and all of this world building was so fragmented that oftentimes people had to go to, you know, third-party tools like, you know, databases, things like that. So are there any plans to maybe implement a type of wiki or something like that, whether it's in-game or something more easily accessible for people?
Well, I hope we're doing a much better job of just storytelling in general in POE2 than we were in POE1. We don't have like a lore book or something like that, but it actually is something that I would be keen to do, to have a place so that you can see all of the conversations that you have.
They really should consider hiring a good writer to write a novel of something POE related. So I've read the Ruination book for Riot Games. Great book. There's one coming out with Mbessa, I think early next year, and I'm going to read that as well. I love reading novels about lore and games I actually play. I think it's so much fun, and they should definitely do more of that. They should do that per se. It's not that huge of an investment for them, and building the lore in your games is always beneficial long term.
Had and all of the lore objects that you found. We don't have it yet, but it is something that I think will be quite nice to do.
All right, so we'll see if you can answer this one. But they're wondering, as you operate Path of Exile, have you guys ever done these kind of like phantom nerfs that just weren't public, whether it's about drop rates or tweaking values?
They have. Also, thank you for the follow there, Shadow Dragon. Thanks, man.
Without telling people.
I will say not really. There might be a few cases where the players would argue that there was a change that wasn't noted, but generally speaking, we do try to be transparent. But I will be honest and say there might have been a couple of cases where there are a few minor tweaks without mentioning it to anyone. But generally speaking, we try to make sure we tell everyone about these things.
So in Path of Exile 2, are there any weapons that are specialized that you need certain requirements for that are very unique in that sense of their design, similar to some of the late game items in POE1?
I guess not exactly. There are definitely going to be uniques that are kind of hard to build for because they require, as you might say, some sort of special requirements for them. But I mean, ultimately, I guess not exactly. It's mostly just that, there are just some uniques that are just hard to build for because they require certain things of your character that may be difficult to meet.
But you have items like Headhunter and Mageblood in PoE1 that were kind of these must-haves that you wanted to chase for. So are there any of those in early access in PoE2? And if so, could you maybe give us a hint on what they're like?
I don't really want to spoil any specific uniques right now because it's one of those things that we have very tight control over the spoilers of these. But look, there are...
Dude, I love that. Imagine... 5.5 days, by the way. Imagine you get in the game and you're playing and you just drop something that says you can have +3 to summon totems and you're playing a totem build. Holy crap. Like, things you just don't expect to drop, Uniques you never expected to see. Like, we don't know what the uniques are going to be. Man, the rush you get seeing something that nobody knew existed. Because it's one thing to know what you're chasing and chase it and get it. It's entirely different. You drop something, you say, wait, huh? I'm swapping builds right now. Fishing rod? Yeah.
There are a lot of uniques that are returning in PoE2. One of the things that we want to do is kind of try to surprise people with how we have adapted some of the mechanics when they don't directly...
Yeah, plus the gem level is very common. It seems like very high scaling.
Translate. I don't think that we have a Mageblood replacement at the moment because obviously the flask system changed quite a lot last minute, so we don't have that one yet. But there are
Wait, was the flask changed last minute? Did they just recently decide to do that? I'm surprised because wouldn't that mean that they designed the game to be played with multiple flasks? Because that would require a lot of rebalancing if they did it very recently. Last month's. Interesting.
I know I probably shouldn't say anything. But obviously, look, we want to make really chase uniques. That's our goal. So hopefully you'll enjoy the ones we have put in there.
So when it comes to skills that are just underused or maybe forgotten, what are your plans? What's the philosophy and how do you patch those? How do you update them? How often?
Well, I mean, so every time we do a patch for Path of Exile 1 as well, and what we will do in PoE2, is we always look at the various data websites that exist that sort of show you what things are popular and what things aren't. And we're always focusing on the things that are underutilized in order to buff them. So I have no doubt that we'll be doing the same thing in PoE2. It's much better to buff the weak things than it is to...
Yo, now that you say that, Ripperek, who's playing Titan with 2x two-handed maces? Hear me out. Are there two-handed scepters? I don't think that's a thing, right? But can you have two-handed scepters? Because that would give you so much spirit. There's probably no two-handed scepters. Probably. That would be sick.
to nerf the powerful things. People obviously feel a lot better about that. So yeah, ideally we can do that. But I will say though that it's okay for there to be in POE2 for there to be some skills that don't see a huge amount of use. Like we design the game a lot like how when you're making a game like Magic the Gathering, like a card game, where some things exist to be combo pieces that maybe they have not found the rest of the combo yet. And so it's okay for things like that to exist so that you know, people later on, people realize what the use is, or we add a unique and it adds a use for it and these sort of things. So you know, it's okay to have a few underutilized things like that just to exist to be interesting things for people to discover later.
They're not quite sure if you really prefer buffs over nerfs from their experience.
I don't think so.
So POE1, it's kind of infamous for needing so many third-party tools. So you've continuously said that you've really tried to fix or amend a lot of that in POE2. So could you give us a detailed example of what's changed to mitigate that?
So the main thing that we're trying to do is provide better information in the game client for the items that you have. So there's a few ways we do that. So one of them is...
Yeah, the tooltip in POE1 sucked balls. You had no idea how much damage you were doing. You had to put it in POB. There's no way around it.
Just the hovers that you, the advanced skill information that you can get from a skill. We show a lot more information, something that you might ordinarily have needed to use a third-party tool to get. This includes things like, you know, information about minions and information about like, you know, all the different components of a skill, like these kinds of things. So we're trying to be a lot better with that. The other thing as well that we're doing is when you, it's possible on the skill tree to see what effect that a given skill will have on your character. So it's a lot easier to sort of find out how that works in advance as well. What I will say though is that I'm sure that people will still want to be using things like Path of Building, because what Path of Building lets you do that we will never let you do is try out a build that you don't have the items for, and that's something we would never want to allow people to do, but yet, you know, obviously people will want that kind of thing. So I'm sure those tools will still be things that have a use, and some people will say that those tools are mandatory, but I guess I don't fully agree with that, because I think that the game is one where you want to explore and find the interesting combos. So, you know, I guess that's our position on it anyway. Oh, and by the way, people who work on those tools have been an amazing source of new game developers for us, because they already understand all the stats already.
So POE2.cap was capped at 30 million, but was that going to increase?
Yeah, you know, I actually don't really know the answer to this question. I believe that the cap for this was not really a like a game design thing. It was more of a technical thing with how the stats are represented internally. So I think it's kind of one of those random things.
Imagine having 30 million DPS on Righteous Fire. Couldn't happen to me. Bro, I wish you could scale Righteous Fire that high. There's just no way to hit 30 million. I mean, maybe with some crazy currency, but unfortunately, yeah. I wish you could, though. You can't. I mean, with like maybe some aura bots and like some crazy crafting you could. But can you even? Okay, realistically, yes, but I mean like unrealistically, like with like 500 mirror worth of like currency, what could you craft? How much could you possibly hit? There's probably some ways to hit crazy numbers.
Hopefully it wouldn't be necessary anymore, but ideally you shouldn't run into these kinds of problems. It was more of just a technical issue.
So mounts.
I hate mounts.
So are there any thoughts behind mounts and how those might be implemented or used?
So we do have the one rower mount that's used on the Ranger mostly, but we don't have any others at the moment. They're not like a general system, if you know what I mean, like they're used for specific purposes. I think it would be cool to add more later on, but you know, we've got...
Please no mounts. Screw mounts. I don't need mounts in my PoE gameplay.
Got a few ideas for what we might do, but for now we just have that one, and that will do for now, I think.
Any ideas on how that can be continued to be developed, even just the one?
I mean, like for that one mount, but what it does effectively is allows you to bypass the other slowdown that you would normally get when you're firing arrows, and so that one, like doing that is like, to be honest, it's like very overpowered. We need to actually be...
How do mounts bother you? Well, mounts are almost always an advantage to have, so then you gotta like balance gameplay around mounts. So then everybody has to use mounts, and then it's like I like Path of Exile being on my feet running around. It just feels good.
be careful that the downside is good is enough, because yeah, it really makes you very, very fast. If we were doing another mount, I'd be keen to do a mount that is more for melee characters, but there's be quite a lot of work to do something like that. Yeah, I'm interested in doing it. We just haven't got anything yet.
Will guilds be transferable from 1 to 2? And also, are there any thoughts behind guild-specific challenges?
So, the guilds are actually not currently combined with POE 1 and 2. It's something that I would have liked to do, but unfortunately, it was a little bit technically challenging for a few reasons. So yeah, the guilds are actually separated. As for guild-specific challenges, that is something that I'm interested in, but the problem is that we generally have a rule that all the content that's in the game has to be completable either single player or multiplayer, as I was saying before. So if we do guild-specific challenges, what I worry about is then people feel pressured to join a guild just so that they can do those things. And
yeah, screw guild-specific challenges.
That's kind of something that we want to not necessarily make people have to do.
So this one, there's a lot of emotional baggage here, but I think some people already know the answer. In Path of Exile 2, do you still need to go through all the acts every season?
Yes. You do. And as I've always maintained,
never change that, please.
That I think it's a huge part of the reason why Path of Exile 1 still set its highest record of players in the most recent season. There's very few games that do that, and I think a lot of the reason is because if you want to have a game where I think it is important that you have a game where each new season you feel like you're on the level playing field with everyone else, and the moment that you don't have the need to go through that.
You know why a lot of games don't do that? It's because they don't know how to design for it. So POE 1 is actually really well designed to be played again and again. Diablo 4 is not. A lot of games, they want to use a lot of cutscenes, they want to use a lot of different storytelling mechanisms, which would be absolute cancer if you try to do that as a replayable content every single league. Imagine having to play the Final Fantasy tutorial all the way to 50 over and over again with 20 cutscenes per hour. I would lose my mind. I wouldn't play the game. I can watch a cutscene one time, that's it. You force me to watch a 1-minute cutscene every time a new league starts, I quit. I'm not doing it, so. And then you gotta say, well, then we can make it skippable and no, POE 1 is well designed. You don't have to listen to any conversation. You click, move, you blast through, right? So the game is designed to be replayed over and over again, which is great. And that's probably why, D4's campaign, I think, is just a little bit annoying. It would be annoying to do it over and over again. It's really fun the first time you play it, but after that, it's I don't want to repeat this. What do I farm mostly in early leagues? Depends on the league. I like to do, I personally enjoy doing Ritual.
The campaign again, then other players will feel left behind. So I think that in the short term, you certainly can annoy some people with that, but in the long term, I think it's much better for the health of the game.
그래서 유배자 대표로 나와서 또 저희를 도와주신 NPC님 너무 감사드리고요. 이렇게 또 인터뷰를 진행해봤는데 이런 인터뷰를 몇 번 해봤지만 이렇게 시원한 답변을 들은 적이 사실 몇 번 없었거든요.
This is all repeated. We've already seen this.
물론 방금 질문은 제외하고요.
So he's done several interviews like this, but he's never felt so kind of relieved about all the answers, except for maybe the last one because it's kind of the expected answer.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we heard that you have to get moving again.
Yes, I'll be flying out this evening, and then as soon as I get back, I've got a lot more work to make sure the servers can stay up for everyone who wants to play.
오늘 저녁에 바로 다시 복귀하셔가지고 이제 남은 일주일 동안 서버가 안전한지 괜찮은지 모든 유저분들이 즐기실 수 있도록 준비해야만 합니다.
바쁜 일정 중에도 와주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 오늘 함께해 주신 유배자분들, 그리고 시청자분들, 그리고 초보라님, 그리고 조나단님 모두 너무 감사드립니다. 저는 진행의 게이머빈이었습니다.
I don't know. When I listen to people speak Korean, I feel like I could never learn to speak that fast. It sounds like a tongue twister the whole time. Most languages don't. Chinese doesn't, but Korean? Is that the normal speed that people speak with in Korea, or does he just speak really fast?
초보라님, 그리고 조나단님 모두 너무 감사드립니다. 저는 진행의 게이머빈이었습니다.
I don't think I could do that easily. You're a crafter, you craft gear, sell, get more currency, get better gear, and repeat. Yeah. That's a really strong early seasons as well. Because people do look to buy mediocre gear that has what they need. It's a bit faster than normal. Leviathan, thanks. Servers hold the legends working on the back end need promotions. Dude, I think there's a chance the servers do hold, because these days it's not hard to like expand in terms of like needing more server power. There's a lot of services for that. The important thing is we're probably going to see a lot of queues because the login servers are going to be probably having a hard time early, but once you get past login, you should be fine, right? Server backend's got to work also, yeah. Yeah, that's true. It won't hold. That's just hopium. Do you think the servers will handle all the new people? I hope so. I also have to, because we're going to stream Path of Exile 2 when it comes out, I need to add all of the 7TV stuff to it. You guys told me I need to put Tink, and I need to put login. What else do I need? I got to add a few things. Wait, do I not have 7TV on my browser? I do, I think. Yeah, I do have 7TV settings. Depends on if they're hosting on cloud. What is the POE2 drama? Oh, Fextra Life leaked some stuff. They did a review for the game, and it was supposed to come out on December the 6th, but they leaked it like 6 days early. You're going to have a death counter? Bro, imagine having a death counter if you never die. Come on. Come on, bro. Impossible. No death timer here. All right. That was a great video. That was really, really good. Let's see what else we have here. Glorp and Gund. They'll get hard stuck on the first boss if they have not made early game easier. I'm fine with that. From a personal point of view. Maybe it's not good for the game, but I'm okay with it. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? So, sort by new. Anything cool happening? Scam company to begin with. They should not have gotten early access. Probably true. Will it be a one-button game? Got him. All right. When I wake up in the morning, what does quality for skill gems do in POE2? I do want to know this as well. I don't think we have answers. So that around 1% more power per quality, but what exactly it gives is different in each gem, and usually not just damage. Huh. So it's twice as strong in POE2 than it is POE1. 07 and caught. If we hadn't seen the GCP, to be honest, I would guess the gem quality doesn't exist in POE2, but it should. Unless some of these early review access people put in the information. We've already seen that gem quality exists from the Ascension. Posted this earlier. God damn it. Oh, I've been baited. Now, I don't know if this is a bait or not, but this one baited me pretty hard. Anyway, now I can't tell if this is true. Do we have new leaks for the Ascensions? I don't think so. I'm looking through the Reddit now, and I'm not seeing any new leaks. We just watched the video with the Korean interview, and we watched it without all the Koreans, so that was a great watch. I read the characters won't be deleted and will move to a special league. What I don't understand is whether there will already be different leagues during early access. So, I mean, this is just for hardcore so that people don't go from hardcore to softcore, theoretically. I think this is, like, silly. I think for the early access, if you die in hardcore, just send them to the softcore league. It's not a big deal. So the reason I think they're doing this is because they want to make it more punishing to die in hardcore. Otherwise, everyone is going to roll hardcore and then move to softcore once they die the first time. The same drama you spoke of leaked all of the Deadeye nodes. Oh, is that where they came from? Because I saw the Deadeye nodes were there in the Ranger. I thought that came from elsewhere, but give me a sec. So where's my dude at? We saw this yesterday. Yeah. But there's one missing, right? Isn't it 9 nodes? Or is there only 8? So Witch Hunter has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I thought there was one missing. Where's Deadeye? So here is Deadeye. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he has one less. Huh. So is Mercenary special in the sense that it has 2? It has one more. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So why are there 9 here? Five, 6, 7, 8. That's so weird. What am I missing? Is one of these wrong? 20 skill, culling, decimating, concentration, no mercy, Sork Ward, explode, Sork Ward. What side is this? POE2 database. Mr. Grappler Surf, I buy early access and I want to play solo on PC, but on PS5 with new friends. If I buy Stash on PC, will I have it on PS5? I don't know if you can connect your PS5 account to your PC account. I actually have no idea. But wait, can you not... I think PC and console are connected? I think you can play with your friends in POE2. PC with... Xbox and PC is. Oh, what about gameplay? Are you able to, isn't it the case in POE2 that the leagues are the same for both console and PC, and you can play with each other? I thought they were connected together. In which case, you could probably play PC with your PS4 friends, but I could be wrong here. That was my impression. Cross-play all platforms, yeah, so you could technically buy for PC and just play on PC with your PS5 friends. No mercies listed twice. Oh, you're a genius. Well played, Mr. ST. I would have never spotted that. Thanks. All right, that makes more sense. So it's 8 per. All right. So that's how these got leaked. By the way, that's an interesting one. 5 passive skill points. Is that ever... I wonder, is that how good is 5 passive skill points? That's pretty strong, right? We're playing PoE in PS is so scuffed. Can't even piano flask, yeah, but PoE2 is very different. There's no flask to piano. I'll have crossplay, but PS5 has issues with cross-buy stuff. Got it. Got it. Extra live video. Is the video actually there? I don't know if it's good etiquette to show the video on stream if GG wants it down, but I would watch it myself in my own personal time for sure. Word is a potential strength dex bonus. Wait, what? Jonathan mentioned the team struggled with deciding what dex should offer, and often the discussion just came back to accuracy. I had a thought I'd like to hear the opinions on with how well Word synergizes with evasion. Wouldn't it be perfect option for somebody else the dex can offer? We don't know what dex offers, right? Do we? Do we know if dex gives evasion? Because if it does, dex scaling might be insane. Like, you might want to be able to dex stack your character, and then you would go for ward with no downsides. Accuracy? Oh, that's trash. Because, like, spellcasters don't need it, and you can get no accuracy loss on your ranger anyway. Wow. Release work for console. What is good about embargo if it's going to just end right after release? This is a great question. I have no idea. They don't have the game knowledge to create good builds. Doesn't matter. They're still going to put out the guides. They have no early guide clauses in the NDA. A veteran streamer in my community who also had the supposedly media pre-EA access said he would post build suggestions, which is the same shit as guides, but blue on release date. As soon as NDA is lifted, he even accidentally leaked a video of that. Chill dummy, I don't care about guides. Yeah, like, I don't like it either. I'm not a fan. But whatever, it is what it is. Any additional evidence of traps? Yeah, we've not seen any traps at all. POE2 EA for Australians will be like waking up for Saturday morning Disney. Definitely co-op friendly, yeah, sure. Buying early access on the website. Can we appreciate the GG isn't selling early access? Fast pace similar to POE1? Nope. I think this is the biggest thing I read. Stun threshold being like something that affects active block. I still don't know if they're correct on this, but if it is the case, I think we have a very, very good idea on our first build. As long as we don't die. So, there's so many builds I want to do though. If you guys, okay, so if you guys were playing hardcore, what build would you go for? I'm curious. What drama have I missed? Effects Life leaked some stuff they were not supposed to leak. They did it like a early review video that was supposed to come out 6 days later. Chrono seems safest. I don't think so. I think we need more info on Chrono. So I want to be safe versus stuff I can't react to. Usually that's what kills you in Path of Exile, things you can't react to. Like, this is great if you can react to it, but it's like unexpected damage that kills you. I had hardcore probably play Warbringer Totem. That's what I'm looking at the moment as well, yes. But I'm not going to go Ancestral Bond. I'm gonna skip that entirely. I'm gonna go for mainly hard blocking, stun threshold, HP, and strength scaling, I think. That's the idea. I might even get the Keystone to remove my dodge ability. Now, that might be weird. That might be a mistake, but I think it's a calculated risk. So I might go dodge roll cannot avoid damage. No, that's not the one. Where is it? Wait, is it not here? Where's the one that yeah. Your stun threshold is doubled, cannot dodge roll. I might go for Unwavering Stance. Yes. I think there's a good reason to go for it. Where can I find the Effects Life video asking for a friend? I don't know, actually. They removed it. You have to find somebody who copied the video and re-uploaded it. So, technically speaking, I saw a thread somewhere here with it. This one. No, sorry. You can check it out. This one. 1 hour ago on the official subreddit, Effects Life video. That might be it. I don't know if it is, but that might be it. VODs of people who watched it. Yeah, exactly. That's how you can probably find it. People who watched the VOD. Like, exactly. Your friend is thankful? You got it, man. I'm not going to play it on stream. I think it's probably bad etiquette. But if you guys want to watch it, I mean, that's entirely up to you guys. It's fine. So the reason I think this might be really good is we saw another node recently. Where is the website that, does anybody have the link to the website that has all the nodes in their positions? So let me look at stun threshold. It's actually not here. This website is a little bit delayed, unfortunately. That's the one, yes. Thank you, Rip. Thanks, man. So, I think it's not it. This one, no, it's not this one either. Wait, do they actually not have it listed? Yeah, so this one's really cool. +3 to stun threshold per strength, right? I think this is really solid. Because first of all, this gives base stun threshold. It doesn't say like +3%. It says +3. If that's the case, that's also multiplied by all of these. Like 25% increase. Is it +3% and they just miswrote it? What does +3 even mean? I don't know. But it wouldn't be additive, it would be multiplicative, which would be basically more stun threshold, which is insane. Which would be multiplied by these 25%. 50% of base armor from equipment also added to stun threshold is really good. Increased stun threshold. And all of these are actually really, really interesting. Like, all of them are defensive, right? Increased armor, increased stun threshold. What else do we have? We have increased armor and stun threshold. We have HP regen per second while moving, stun threshold. These are energy shields. We're not going to be in this part of the tree. Yeah. This one's really good. Increased threshold if you haven't been stunned recently, which is insane. It's just an easy 40%, but... Wait, what? Increased global defenses stun threshold. So once we have all of this, this is a mace tree, right? Gain stun threshold equal to the lowest of evasion and armor on your helmet. So if you have a full-on evasion or armor helm, you're good. And same for boots. The tree scares you, it's glint. It's not that bad, trust me. So when I pop this bad boy down, unwavering stance, I think we're going to have a character that can active block for a very long time, right? I think we can agree on that, right? If we pick up all of these stun thresholds, if we get a lot of strength, our HP pool is going to be very high, which... So first of all, stun threshold is dictated by your max HP, right? So getting a lot of strength stacking will already by default make it very high. Secondly, we double dip by getting it based on strength a second time from Hefty Heist, which means we get even more stun threshold on top of that. And then all of these are multipliers, 25%, 25%, 20%, etc., 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 all multiplier stun threshold on top of that. And then if we go here, we can also even get more. And then finally, all of that multiplying, boom. Okay, it's 3% max HP and stuff. Wait, where is that one? Unbending. And then we just multiply by 2 with unwavering stance. Oh, this one. And max life and 30% stun. Thank you. I missed this one entirely. And this one is... Increased armor if you've hit an enemy with a melee attack recently. Stun buildup, whatever. Your hits can't be evaded. That's kind of nice as well, right by this. I do like Resolute Technique, because I don't plan on going for crits, and I probably don't want to have to worry about accuracy. So that seems pretty damn nice. Interesting. All right, now that we have this, again, our playstyle is drop a couple of totems, let them do work. We hide behind the shield the whole time. If we're about to get stunned soon, and by the way, I don't know how this works, but if charms can remove stun, that's broken. So we can run the anti-stun charm, and if you can remove the stun you get from being from blocking too much, that's busted beyond belief. Because then we can like block 4 times straight. There's no way that's the case, though, is there? But it could be. You never know. If we face AoE that we can't block, we play Jade form, which is what we're planning to do in the first place. Probably one of my first Ascendancies is going to be, I guess, this if I need more damage. But I think Encased in Jade is insane. So we have Encased in Jade on top of that. Now we have two very good ways to just stand still and just tank damage, face tank everything we want. On top of all of that, we can go cast while channeling on both Stun and Jade. So on both Shield and Jade. Is there any channeling nodes that we've seen so far? I don't think so. I don't think I've read a single one. No, not really. You will build stun immune mass of muscles with 0 damage. Well, okay, first of all, it's actually not 0 damage. Let me explain why. Thankfully, we have... Where's my boy? Thankfully, this guy scales off of his own weapon, right? So we have Ancestral Warrior Totem. He uses his own weapon. Base attack time is 1 second, whatever. So this guy is damaged. Secondly, our Ascendancy does give us Ancestral Spirits, right? When you summon a totem. So we can summon like 3 totems instantly. We summon 3 spirits. I don't know how these guys scale. We don't know yet. Another point to consider is, where is he at? The other point to consider is we don't know what this does. So this is almost certainly going to be totem related. So this here gives us Ancestral Spirits, but this might be another DPS increase, a pretty significant one, right? Because if you're picking up something for totems, you're going to pick up more for totems down the line. So this might be very, very good. Yeah, I'm going cast while channeling for both active block and for Jade Heritage, because both of them are channeling skills. Now, I still haven't figured out what I want to put inside it. You don't get enough points to max out Ascendancy tree right now. You don't. You get 4, right? You get 4 points eventually. And it takes a while to get to 4 points. So we know how cast while channeling works. Basically, the more things you have inside of it, the more expensive it is to use. What do we have here for supports? Supported spells. Okay, support spells you cast yourself, making their effect reoccur when cast. Support spells you cast yourself, making their effect reoccur when cast. Cannot support channeling skills or skills with a cooldown. Thanks for the follow there, Care. Thanks, man. Spell Echo. Recurring. Supported spells are unsealed when cast. Right. Supported spells gain a seal every 200% of cast time, up to a maximum of 2 seals. They're unsealed when cast, and their effects reoccur for each seal lost. That's actually really decent if you're... So, if I'm going to make a really defensive channeling ability, we can go for... Look. What's a good freezing ability? It doesn't require a bow. No requirement. Frostbomb, for example. So Nova. Casting Nova targeting near a frostball projectile. Yeah, whatever. 100% more freeze buildup. Crossbow cannot inflict freeze. Crossbow spear. More effective chill. Is the game out? Not yet, no. I'm trying to think what skills I would put inside that are very good for defending myself and keeping myself alive. Hits are freezing. Comet. Pull a massively icy chunk from the air, dealing high damage at the targeted location. Target's close-up will cause you to float back as you cast. So, imagine the following. I mean, this does require intelligence, which kind of sucks. But imagine the following. You have a Comet. You have like Unleash, which gives it like triple the effect. They freeze, and you put them inside channeling, right? Castable channeling. So as you're blocking or jading, you're also shooting ice comets, freezing stuff around you to further make your block better, right? EA will have 8 Ascendancy points. Yeah, so you get 4 total Ascendancy things. The Unleash cast yourself excludes spells you trigger. Spells castable channeling are triggers. Oh, does that count? So then you can't go for, where is it? You can't use Spell Echo, you're saying. Wait, why can't you? The Unleash cast yourself, okay. Okay. You cast yourself, okay, that makes sense. That's fair. Blocking is channeling, I believe it is, and Jade form, I'm almost certain it is, so. If not freeze, I mean, freeze is an interesting option. What else is a very interesting option? Does Herald of Thunder convert damage of Hammer of the Gods to lightning damage? Herald of Thunder, cast, cannot inflict shock, converts 100% of physical damage to lightning damage. While active, killing shocked enemies with attack damage will cause subsequent attack hits to release lightning bolts, which deal attack damage to all surrounding enemies. So no. I'm pretty sure what happens is these lightning bolts are basically your lightning damage. That's what's being, like, your physical damage gets converted to lightning bolt, which is all lightning damage. And they have some added lightning damage to them. This isn't just like a flat conversion you get for free, from my understanding of it. You don't understand what is the big difference between POE and POE2. It's a new game. Just brand new. New campaign, new story, new mechanics. Just consider it a new game. Where's castable channeling? I think that's miscategorized inside the normal gem skill, so it's here. Yeah, castable channeling. On reaching maximum energy, trigger all spells. So how long it takes to trigger depends on how many spells there are. It's 0.1 seconds of base cast time. So the ideal would be just to have one spell, so it casts over and over and over again. Lennox, thanks for the follow, man. That would be the ideal. With like 4 support gems, right? What is the best possible gem we can use for skill gems? What would you guys put? Either offensive or defensive, but ideally defensive, I would say. You know, we could put curses. Maybe. How does it choose what area to do it in, though? If they're targeted. How does that work? Does it just target the nearest enemies, or... Like, for example, Enfeeble is really good. Like, enemies deal 20% less damage. That's insane. Bosses deal 60% less damage. That's insane. And people can be very, very good. Can't decide between Titan and Warbringer. Seems a lot of fun, but Titan seems so strong with the little information we have. Well, what is your main spell going to be? Like, what are you going to play around? What skill? I might have to use vulnerability as well, though. Maybe. Oh, vulnerability is actually a negative armor. Minus armor. It's no longer a multiplier. Well, it kind of is, but it's not in the same time. I'm also really, really surprised. Wait, why does vulnerability scale with int? Is that a typo? Why would this be an int spell? Are all curses int? Wait, every curse is intelligence. That's really awkward. Does it mean every class who wants to curse has to go int? Or maybe curses is not something you run anymore, necessarily. So what is castable channeling requirements? Oh, meta skills don't have requirements because you can't level them up. Yeah, for totems, I think Warbringer will make more sense, but it depends what the last node is. So there's some really good things about Titan. Example, 20% more maximum life is insane. Armor from equipped body armor is doubled, is insane, right? These two are incredible. Like, incredible. After that, this is all like, this is not really totemish, per se. But, yeah. These two are great. Crushing impact. Your hits are crushing blows. Yeah, but that's your hits, right? That's not your totem's hits. I have a very strong suspicion, though, that in POE2, you might not be able to just exclusively use totems and not have to worry about your own attacks. You might... I'm really trying to find a way not to have to ever attack personally. That's why I'm looking in the castable channeling block and castable channeling Jade. I really would like to avoid ever attacking and just let my totems do the work. I just don't really know exactly how. Wait, what about castable channeling slams? Forget about, like, what if we went offensive with it? Is that insane? Why not, right? I'll be using a mace as my main hand. Yo! Okay, chat, hear me out. What if, and this sounds cool, what if we went cast while channeling Earthquake with castable channeling Earthquake with Shockwave totems. Slams the ground around it, repeatedly damaging nearby enemies. Earthquake's jagged ground erupts when in the slam. It's an attack, not a spell. But you can't use attacks. All socketed spells. But attacks are spells, right? Or am I crazy? No, it's it. Oh, no. No! My plan is gone. It's over. Ah, you're right. It's so sad. That's so sad. That could have been really cool. Could you imagine blocking and earthquaking at the same time? Oh, that's sad. What about Bone Cage? Raises a ring of bone spikes around you. The spikes explode when an enemy touches them, damaging and pinning nearby enemies. That's not too bad. What about castable channeling Bone Cage? It's both protective and offensive. That's not the worst idea I've ever seen. Maybe. It's physical damage as well, right? And you're scaling physical damage. You have Bone Storm. That's not bad either. I could see that as well. And Bone Storm has even lower cast time, which is decent. You could theoretically run both of them. Though this one doesn't have a int requirement. This one kind of does. That's level 14. And int 34 is pretty easy to get. Some fire spells. Pretty sure there's ignite stuff close by the tree. Hmm. Did I misspell ignite? No, it's fine. So we have increased damage with hits against ignited enemies. That's a 30% multiplier. That's a 1.3 multiplier. That's really strong. Sigil Fire. And we have... we could theoretically pick this up and have one spell that does ignite stuff pretty easily. Oh, Bone Storm is channeling? Thanks. You can't use Bone Storm. Where was Bone Storm? Here. Yeah, you're right. It is channeling. Okay. Cast on melee stun. Cast on melee kill. Castable channeling. Charge staff. Cold snap. Definitely not cold snap. Cluster grenade. Hey, this is there's another one I was looking at. The spell one, right? Yeah, it's this one. Charge staff. It's quarterstaff. Comet. So we could go Comet. Comet solid. Contagion? No. Unless it does something different. No. Dark Effigy. Raises a totem that bombards enemies? No. Detonate dead. You know? Why the hell not? Is there a reason not to just run Detonate Dead? Castable channeling Detonate Dead is actually spicy. Huh. Yeah, I could see that being good. Explode when block, explode when Warcry. I don't know if I'm Warcrying though. No way to cast your own corpses. Yeah, but your totems are killing other stuff in the meantime while you're actively blocking, right? So you are detonating stuff. Now, you can make your own corpses as well inside the channeling thing, theoretically. Eye of Winter. Not hit enemies. The eye constantly releases damaging projectile shards in a spiral. Extra burst of shards. Fireball, Firestorm. Limit 1 Firestorm. I don't mind. What is the duration? 6 seconds. Firestorm. I mean, you would use this to trigger something different. Flame Wall. Flammability. Freezing Mark. Attack AoE Mark. Whatever. That doesn't work. No way to cast your own corpses. Would work for clear but not bosses. Ember Fusillade is good. What is Ember Fusillade? Conjure a blazing ember that hovers above you. After a short duration, the ember launches at the enemy, dealing fire damage and area and impact. Recasting the spell resets the duration of all active embers. Multiple embers fire in the same will attempt to target different enemies. They hover for 1.3 seconds, then they go on to other... I mean, that is cool. My problem is, like, I think I want... So I think I have to scale physical damage unless I convert physical to fire. What is the keystone for converting physical to fire? Here, right? Avatar of Fire. So we could technically do Avatar of Fire. Then our totems deal fire damage. And we could just deal fire damage, I guess. And then we can scale fire damage. And then we could play that Ember spell. Maybe. Utilize Ignite too, it's true. Ice Nova. Expands from you knocking back enemies based on how close. You know, that's actually solid. If it has knockback. Right? Targeting near far will cause it to originate from the Frostbolt instead of you and causes more freeze buildup. Why not just Ice Nova? So you're standing still channeling, just casting Ice Novas nonstop. Right? You cast one Ice Nova every how much? So energy per second you're channeling, and 10 maximum energy per 0.1, that's 100 energy. So every 1.67 seconds, you cast an Ice Nova. What does Ember do? It's a DPS ability, basically. But if you do cast while channeling with Ice Nova, it's one Ice Nova every 1.67 seconds. And then you can give it more freeze, right? So you can just freeze stuff around you so that your block is even safer. That things can't attack you in melee range easily. And you're also knocking them back. So let's look at support gems for Ice Nova. Apply cold exposure enemies, not really. Consume freeze, no. 50% chest increased freeze duration. Wow, that's really good. So you can throw in deep freeze, right? What is brittle? Brittle instead. Enemies made brittle this way are unaffected by freeze or chill. Do you guys know what this is? Can any class use skeleton summons? Yes. Yes. That's always the case in Path of Exile. Anybody can use anything, pretty much. Some spells are limited to certain weapons, for example, but any class can use any weapon. Order spells create chill ground for 4 seconds when they freeze an enemy. More effect on igniting against frozen, whatever. More freeze buildup. So you go for more freeze buildup and you go for more freeze duration. And then you can go for hypothermia or even more freeze buildup against chilled enemies. And I guess you can go for Frost Nexus to drop chilled ground. It's a bit weird. It's a little bit strange, but you could do it. Isn't shield charge both channel and blocking? If you cast Ice Nova frequently? Yes. Exactly. Wait, shield charge. Is it I don't know if it's channel. Let me see. Because we'll be using shield charge 100%. I don't know if it's channel or not. Shield charge. It is channeling. Wow. Yo, we have so many channeling skills. That's insane. Yo, this is actually looking really, really fun. All right, hear me out. Now that I see that shield charge is channeling, you guys know I can probably do more than one castable channeling, right? We can go for more than one. We can have one entirely for Ice Nova. What if we went one for... Wait, what if we skip totems entirely? Is that insane? What if we just don't use totems? Now, there's no way you can just stand still and channel and just win the game, right? That can't be right. You can do multiple casts on channeling. I don't see why not. Why couldn't you? It's a meta skill. Isn't shield charge? Yeah, it's a meta skill. You just pop more than one on your gem slots. I mean, you can do that on any class, though. It doesn't necessarily even have to be the... doesn't have to be this guy. Also, I just realized I have no music. Too much nicer. Yeah, any class can do it. So, if we don't go totems, what is the benefit to... I think we're just going to go totems anyway, but... what benefits does he have? He has one channeling ability, right? And that's it. Corpses in your prison explode when you Warcry, dealing 300% of life as physical damage. Alright, let's have a look at Warcry. So, AoE, Shapeshifter, Bear. No. Wait, what? Shapeshift into a bear and trigger Warcry skill. Can anybody use this? Socketed skills deal more increased damage? I don't understand what this does. What does it mean by socketed skills? Oh, it's a meta skill. So wait, you can socket skills inside of Ferocious Roar? I don't get how that works. So it's not a Warcry. It's just called Roar. So Seismic Warcry gives me ignore damage reductions, exert my next attack, and I can scale it with endurance charges, more stun buildup, blah blah blah. Yeah, I do think totems are a good idea as well. Only problem with totems is we don't have spell totem support yet, which we really want to get. So when it comes to totems, we only have two options. We have this one, which would be with a mace, and we have this one that can use any weapon. I feel like Shockwave Totem, you just have to use it with Earthquake, right? I think. Can you play Shockwave Totem without Earthquake? Or is this just trolling? We don't know how well this scales. This seems like to be the damage totem that we're going to go for. Yeah, I will tell. All right, chat. I think we've covered mostly everything today. There's nothing really new here. Hopefully tomorrow we have more leaks and we can get some new material to talk about. But it's been fun. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the stream, consider giving me a follow. I'll be streaming pretty much every day at these same hours. I always have. It's my normal stream time, so if you're usually awake, consider stopping by. Let me close this down real quick. But yeah, all of you on here, I will see you all on the next stream. And enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your Sundays. Thank you, Flex Pisca, for the channel follow, my friend. Also, previous followers, thank you, Juggy Main. Thank you, Nathanius, Lennox, the Kayer, Shadow Dragon, Leviathan, and everybody else. Fun stuff, mate. Yeah, it's been fun, man. It really has. I will see you all soon. And do we want to rate somebody? Maybe? Rob is offline. Unfortunately, I can't rate him. He rated me yesterday. I'm going to rate Trisha. She's rated me before. She's a cool chick. Thanks for the follow as well, James, man. Thank you. Trisha is a birdie. All right. Damn it, I misspelled it. Raid Trisha is a birdie. All right, let's do that. All right. See y'all later. Again, have a great weekend. Cool streamer. Have a good one. Hey, thanks, man. I will. And hopefully we get more leaks and we can do a little bit more theory crafting soon. See y'all soon. And until next time, friends, you know what it is. Peace!